When they say 2% milk, I don't know what the other 98% is.
Andy Dwyer, you're a simple guy, and that's what makes you so hilarious. You've kept Leslie Knope and your entire office on their toes with your one-liners. You were always there when they needed a hand, although sometimes you weren't on the same page as everyone else. Still, that never stopped April Ludgate from hanging off your every word.
Oh, babe, you had a crush on me. That's embarrassing.
Tons of actors are famous for their wicked improvisation skills, from Chris Pratt to Jennifer Aniston to Will Smith. Keep watching to find out which sitcom actor improvised one of the most emotional scenes on TV.
No improving? Give me the money back.
No, my script says to rip it up and walk away dramatically.
How I Met Your Mother. We're starting off with a very emotional scene, and believe it or not, but it was 100% authentic. Jason Segel, who portrayed Marshall on How I Met Your Mother, is one incredible actor. His acting skills know no bounds. And one of the most moving scenes in the series takes place in Season 6, Episode 13, when Lily informs Marshall that his father has passed away after suffering a heart attack.
My dad said?
If Marshall's reaction seemed a little too genuine, it's because it was. As it turns out, Jason Segel hadn't read the final script yet. He had no idea that his on-screen wife Lily, played by Allison Hannigan, was going to throw some heartbreaking news his way. Jason had to improvise that entire scene, which made it all the more believable.
I'm not ready for this.
Anyone who watched How I Met Your Mother knows that Marshall and his father Marvin had a very close relationship, so this news came as a total surprise. On a lighter note, did you know that Marvin Erickson was played by actor Bill Fagerbakke, the man responsible for voicing Patrick Star?
George!
This Is Us. This Is Us is one emotional roller coaster ride. It shows us the ins and outs of family and how even the most put together people can be hurting on the inside. Sterling K. Brown does an amazing job of portraying Randall Pearson, Kate and Kevin's adopted triplet. Fitting in wasn't always easy for Randall, which is why meeting his biological father was such a big deal. Although no one could ever replace his adoptive father, Jack, getting to know William Hill helped Randall get closer to his roots. Most of the time, the cast of This Is Us sticks to their scripts, but this wasn't the case while filming the episode titled Memphis. In this episode, Randall and his father Will, who is played by Ron Cephas Jones, enter a barbershop to get their hair cut, and they exchange stories about their first barbershop experiences.
I'll never forget him because he used to always threaten to cut my ears off.
If this scene seemed a little too smooth, it's because it was. Sterling and Ron improvised this entire conversation. They spoke freely about their real first haircuts, and producers let the cameras roll. Sherlock. Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman take the stage as Sherlock Holmes and Dr. John Watson in the TV series Sherlock. Here, we meet a very serious Sherlock Holmes who wants nothing more than to solve crimes and put criminals away. But in the episode titled The Sign of Three, Sherlock and John finally let loose when they go out to celebrate John's bachelor party. They have more than a few drinks and they're having a blast. That is, until duty calls. Holmes and Watson take on a case in their inebriated state, which makes for a very funny episode. The usually composed team tries to keep it together while looking for clues, but they fail miserably. During a Q&A with Stephen Moffat, the co-writer revealed that one of the episode's funniest lines actually stemmed from a mishap. Benedict had failed to remember his lines during the consultation scene. Instead of saying his line, Benedict went on to say,
Apologize about my...
But instead of yelling cut, directors kept the cameras rolling. Considering Sherlock's state, it was fitting that the character forgot what he was apologizing for.
Crime scene.
The Office. The cast of The Office was no stranger to ad-lib moments. In fact, the actors were encouraged to speak freely during their one-on-one moments with the camera. Steve Carell and Rainn Wilson, who played Michael Scott and Dwight Schrute respectively, were particularly famed for going off-script. In fact, directors have said that Rainn improvised his scenes more often than not. But one of the funniest scenes in The Office history didn't include Rainn at all, but rather Oscar and Michael. This scene occurs in Season 3, Episode 1, when Michael desperately tries to prove that he is okay with Oscar being a part of the LGBTQ community. In one of the most awkward on-screen moments, Michael locks lips with Oscar in front of the entire office. This scene was painful to watch, and Oscar looked absolutely terrified, and rightfully so.
I did it. Thank you.
After all, going to first base with Michael hadn't been on the script. Steve Carell was supposed to peck Oscar Nunez on the cheek, but he chose to go the extra mile for comedy's sake. Parks and Recreation. To say that Chris Pratt is a funny guy would be an understatement. He delivered some hilarious lines as Andy Dwyer, many of which he came up with on his own. In the episode titled Flu Season, Andy attempts to help Leslie out, seeing as she's sick and all. He types in her symptoms online, determined to give her a Google diagnosis, only to say,
Leslie, I typed your symptoms into the thing up here and it says you could have network connectivity problems.
This simple yet witty line came straight from Chris Pratt's imagination, and it had viewers laughing out loud. But Chris isn't the only cast member who is notorious for winging it on camera. Nope, the entire cast is well versed when it comes to ad-lib moments. This was proven in the episode titled The Fight, when the entire cast was asked to improvise their snake juice reactions. The characters of the show had taken some very potent snake juice, and their actors improvised their one-on-one scenes with the camera. Turns out Amy Poehler was actually directing this scene, and the actors were doing their very best to make her laugh.
Baba booey.
Are you enjoying this video? Then subscribe to The Things for more. We post daily videos about your favorite movies, TV shows, and celebrities, so stay in the loop by clicking that notification bell. If you're watching on your mobile, switch on notifications in your YouTube settings. Keep watching to find out which TV character improvised every single one of his lines. Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones was one of the most watched TV series of all time. Its characters were brought to life by some of the most amazing actors in Hollywood. But while the majority of the show was scripted, a few of its scenes were ad-libbed. The show was known for having some brilliant romances, but some of these romances never came to fruition, like the one between Tormund Giantsbane and Brienne of Tarth. No matter how hard Tormund tried, Brienne just wasn't impressed by him. In Season 5, Episode 6, Tormund longfully stares at Brienne while on horseback, and he flashes her his best smile. This scene had viewers smiling from ear to ear, but did you know that it wasn't actually scripted? Yeah, that's right. Christopher Hivju, who plays Tormund, came up with the scene all on his own. Another notable ad-lib moment is brought to us by Ian Glenn, who is known for his portrayal of Jorah Mormont. Ian was asked to ad-lib some of his Dothraki lines when the show's language consultant couldn't make it to the set. Friends. Ross Geller isn't the easiest person to deal with. Just ask his 3 ex-wives. Ross getting divorced became a running joke on the hit sitcom Friends.
I hear divorce, I immediately go to Ross.
But this joke wasn't always funny for Rachel, who married Ross in Las Vegas when she was under the influence. Ross and Rachel get married in the episode titled The One in Vegas Part 2, but Rachel realizes her mistake and asks Ross to get an annulment. Problem is, Ross isn't keen on the idea. In the episode titled The One After Vegas, Ross tries to convince Rachel to stay married to him, which flabbergasts her. Ross is throwing around the word marriage during their heated argument, and Jennifer Aniston was supposed to say, "Stop saying the word marriage," but she chose to switch things up. Jennifer changed her line to,
"This is not a marriage, this is the world's worst hangover!"
and directors liked it so much, they chose it over the original line. The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead has some of the best characters of all time, but only a handful of them make it past every season. Daryl and Carol are the only members of the original group to appear in every single season, and they share a very special bond. When we first meet Carol, she's a shell of a person. She's timid, afraid, and weak, but she grows into one of the show's most powerful characters, and Daryl is always there to lend her a helping hand. In Season 5, Episode 12, we watch as Carol pretends to be a clueless housewife to fool the residents of Alexandria. She puts on very conservative clothing and suggests that Daryl take a shower and do the same. But that just isn't Daryl's style. Daryl obviously has a problem with Carol's soccer mom attire, so much so that Norman Reedus, the actor who portrays him, chose to throw in a line of his own during this scene. As Carol is walking away, he yells out,
"You look ridiculous."
This line wasn't in the script, but directors chose to include it anyway. Scrubs. Scrubs was a sitcom that aired from 2001 to 2010. It had a total of 9 seasons, and those who watched it just couldn't get enough of it. Scrubs starred Donald Faison, Sarah Chalke, and Zach Braff. And for those of you who never watched the show, it followed a group of doctors and residents who worked at the Sacred Heart Hospital. While the majority of the show was scripted, producers encouraged the cast to improvise their lines whenever they saw fit, and one actor in particular took this to a whole new level. Neil Flynn, who portrayed the show's janitor, was one of the very few cast members to improvise nearly every single one of his lines.
How's it going?
I'm 37 years old and I'm a janitor. How do you think it's going?
But this came naturally to Neil, who was a former member of The Family, a Chicago-based improv troupe. Neil appeared in 170 episodes of Scrubs and improvised the vast majority of his lines.
Can I talk to you for a second?
No, I'm busy cleaning.
And as a result, Neil's fellow actors had to take their scripts with a grain of salt, especially when their characters had a scene with the janitor. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. But if there's one ad-lib scene that will forever stay in our hearts, it's the one brought to us by Will Smith. In the episode titled Papa's Got a Brand New Excuse, Will was asked to improvise a very heartbreaking scene in which he talked about his father and how he never wanted him.
He never even sent me a damn card. To hell with him!
This TV moment brought tears to our eyes, and Will Smith later revealed how he drew inspiration for the scene during an interview with Black Press Media Group. As it turns out, he was pushed by the late actor James Avery, who played his on-screen uncle, Phil. James encouraged him to deliver a heartfelt improvised moment. James wouldn't settle until Will pushed his acting skills to the limit, and that's exactly what Will did.
How come you don't want me, man?
When Will finally emulated what James had envisioned, James hugged him and whispered, "Now that's acting," into his ear. And that's a wrap on the 10 improvised scenes that made it into TV shows. Before you go, tell us which ad-lib moment was your favorite in the comment section below. Hit that subscribe button and don't forget to subscribe to The Things. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.